the amount only to the town of Barnstable for the cost of advertising. Please send your checks to the Conservation Divisions at 230 South Street before the hearing. Remote participation. The Conservation Commission's public hearing will be held by remote participation as a result of an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed by the governor on March the 29th, 2023, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. Remote public access to this hearing shall be provided in the following manner. One, the hearing will be televised via the town of Barnstable's government's access channel. Two, the real-time public comment can be addressed to the Conservation Commission utilizing the Zoom link 856-554-3784 or use the toll-free phone number 888-4754-499 as shown on the agenda. Third, the public can also email their comments to darcy.curley@town.barnstable.ma.us at least 8 hours prior to the hearing. Tonight, we don't have an RDA, we just have one NOI. And let me go through, and this NOI has request for a continuance. Stewart R. Levy, trustees, 408 Vinyl Avenue Nominal Trust. The applicant has request for a continuance without testimony to October the 31st. Could I have a motion to continue these applications to October 31st without testimony?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. George, unmute.
I'm sorry, I thought you did. Abadili?
Yeah, aye.
Foster?
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Tangney?
Aye.
Sampu?
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Tom, what was the date?
October 31st.
Okay.
Yep.
Last hearing in October. We have 4 continuances. The first one is Graham R. and Lisa C. Walters to construct a pier, permit existing sandy area, and to rebuild a retaining wall at 38 Washington Avenue, Austinville, as shown on the Census Map 162, Parcel 002. This is the continuance from October the 3rd, and the quorum is every commissioner. And this afternoon, you should receive the latest revised plan dated October the 17th to showing the aluminum pier and some planting area in front of the retaining wall. John?
Good evening, John O'Day from Sullivan Engineering Consulting, representing the applicant. We were before you a couple weeks ago, and I think there was a very constructive discussion about some things that the commissioners thought could be incorporated into the plan to make it a better situation, understanding that it is a long standing stand area within what was otherwise the lawn yard. I will bring up my plan and kind of walk you through the changes that we've made. First and foremost, we have switched this towards being a seasonal aluminum pier by the commission. The profile, everything of it stayed the same shape, dimensions, except that instead of being timber, it's called out as a seasonal aluminum pier. We have also called out, instead of where we had before proposed to raise the top of the wall along the shoreline to flatten the area so that there was less runoff, maybe sheeting across it. We have instead called to lower the landward edge of it, as is shown in this grading profile. And we have also noted on that grading profile that the sand is to remain, the sand is to remain 3 inches below the top of the wall in perpetuity. We have also reduced the size of what has been the existing sand area. We have added additional planting on both sides of this, along the pond front and along the landward edge, kind of narrowing down what is the grassy fairway heading towards the pond. And the last revision that we made just today was that these couple of plants adjacent to the stairs had been more positioned a little bit further landward. So we adjusted those to really be kind of tugging up against the location of that wall replacement. So we hope with that we had a good discussion and that we listened to the concerns and suggestions of the commission and have incorporated them into this revised proposal that you can find to be approvable. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, John, for the changes that we discussed the last time in our hearing. Question from the commissioner. Bill?
Well, I'm very happy to see that we have a seasonal dock, and this. If you're trying to make a sandy area as benign as possible, I think you may be there or close. That being said, I do think that having the 0 to 50 foot buffer with an open sand area seems, counter to the idea of having a vegetated buffer, which is basically advocated by the Massachusetts DCR, by the Massachusetts Executive Office of Environmental Affairs. I could read what they say about the need for a vegetated buffer. And what we had before was like a great example of why you don't want to have sand. The sand, the water which is pouring over it, the lawn and whatever fertilizers were in it were basically dumping into the pond, and there was sand washing in. Classic example of why you don't want to have it. Now you have a buffer. I like the idea of the, 3-inch lip on that little wall that's, right on the edge of that sand. I think that's really good, and keeping that always in perpetuity, a 3-inch lip would go a long ways. I still, I'm still like going, but historically it's like we say we'll accept a artificial sand beach on the 0 to 50 if it is always there, and we have evidence of that, and it's been grandfathered, and it was permitted, and yada yada, and it predated the ordinance, the town ordinance that basically protects the buffers. And so I'm like going, I feel torn, and I'm still not liking that. But I have one question, and that is, as I look at this graph or this plan, you have a 365 square feet of sand, and I'm thinking, is there 4 times that in terms of the mitigation? I see you have this area right along the whatever we call it, the baffle on the Lakewood edge of it, and then you said you just push that back, so it seems like it may be more narrow. And what is the area of this mitigation for the sand?
I can add that up for you. Looks like about 663 square feet of additional plantings proposed.
And that is the only mitigation for having essentially previously unpermitted sand artificial beach being permitted in the 0 to 50, right? 600 square feet. Right?
That is what's proposed. Yep.
So that means it's not like a 4 to 1. And I'll throw this out to the commissioners. I look at this and I go, well, if it was just a lawn would, be better than the sand. But here we have this, and I'm going, maybe this is acceptable. But I don't know. I just wish we didn't have sand there. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Louise?
What is the situation with beaches around on other properties on Crystal Lake? John?
Louise, you asking John or you asking?
I'm asking John.
There are other beaches on Crystal Lake. The Wiano Club has their junior activities area, which has a decent sized beachy area. I think that there's a beach on the properties kind of immediately to our northeast. So there are other beaches right along the water's edge, and then I think that there are also some other sandy or other recreational areas near the pond front that aren't beaches like we have here. So this is not the only property by any means that has an open area near the shoreline with sand. Some of them are sand right up to the water's edge with no walls, and some of them, I think maybe on the opposite side of the pond, are more similar to this, where it's a little bit set back.
So besides the Wiano Club beach, you're saying there are several? I guess that's kind of a vague quantification, but there are several other situations where there are sandy beaches?
Yes, there's the properties heading up in this direction definitely have sandy areas right along the pond frontage. I'm looking at aerials on my other screen to know. I think that on the opposite edge of the pond, like Crystal Lake Road, those properties are a little bit more elevated, so some of those do have walls, and then they have open areas above them for their access. But I believe that there are both situations on this lakefront of beach areas, and then
sandy beach areas.
Sandy actual, beach areas, even though that isn't an inland wetland, and then, areas in the yard near the pond, like we have here.
I see. Okay. So why isn't there a 4-to-1 mitigation for this being offered for this?
There's not a 4-to-1 mitigation being offered for this because it is not hardscape. It is an area. It is a landscaped area. It is an area that has been landscaped historically. It has been sand area for two owners prior to the applicants that we're representing today, and it's what's being, an enforcement order said to remove it and put back grass, or requests to maintain a sand area, and that's what we have opted for.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see that you've got an aluminum dock in your plans now, and I thank you for that. But I agree with Bill. I have concerns about putting in such a large sandy area. When I was there, I could clearly see sand that was now in the pond underneath water. And I know that in terms of your design, in terms of the wall height versus the sand height, you're taking measures to avoid that. But I just hate to see these sandy beaches proliferating. This one had never been approved. Yes, it preceded the current owners by a couple, but it hasn't ever been approved. And so I share a lot of Bill's concerns about this. Thank you very much for your information.
Next, Louise. George?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. So I looked at this plan and we had an existing sandy area which was leaching into Crystal Lake, which was not a good situation. The applicants come back with a good design to retain that sand. It's also put a buffer between the sand and the water. He's taking care of the dock situation, which to me is no problem whatsoever. But I just, the area that is now sand was grass at some point, but it has been sand for some time. So I look at this and I say, this is a big improvement over the situation we have. And I just think he's done a nice job with this. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, George. The other thing I should point out too, he also lowered the sand area grading down to minimize some of the level of the sand in that area. So to keep that 3 inch below the retaining wall. Pete?
Yeah, I am glad that the applicant has put forth and incorporated into this new design a lot of the concerns and recommendations we had. I like the increase in buffer, the lessening of the slope without having a high wall, the aluminum dock. I guess my only concern, and I'm torn, I mean, this is a lot better than what we had last time. And I would say, I'd agree with you, George, this is better than all grass. I guess my concern, and I just want to be able to voice this to my fellow commissioners, is a reward, not for these applicants, but for individuals who own this property much earlier, that the reward here is if you can put in something without a permit and keep it hidden from our jurisdiction and our regulation, and if it lasts long enough, then in sometime into the future, an individual can come and say, well, it's been like this for a while, even though it's not historically permitted. So it's a lot better than what we had 2 weeks ago, no doubt about that. And I think what's in front of us is a lot better than the grass that's growing there, which is, I'm sure, receiving a lot of herbicides and fertilizers from the look of it. So again, I'm torn. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to vote, but well, that's what I got to say. And again, I just don't want something like this to be a precedent. If you can get away with it long enough without us, then it becomes, well, it's better than what it was for the past 10 years. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Pete. John?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Excuse me. I'm back to the last hearing and listened to the concerns that were expressed. Bill had mentioned the article. Bill, I think you sent 3 or 4 page article. It was some time ago on the problem with sand accreting into fresh water that you had sent us, and I looked over that. And it's interesting. I went back to the site and I looked at it. You know, the real problem with our freshwater ponds and lakes, in my opinion, isn't the sand that's leaching into it from existing beaches or public beaches. It's cyanobacteria and all of the possible causes for that. That's one of our greatest concerns. It's these septic systems that are leaking phosphate into the freshwater ponds. Those are the issues that I think are significant in terms of preserving the freshwater lakes and ponds in Barnstable. I looked at this particular site, and you do have this sandy area, but it isn't leaching into, especially right now, it's leaching into it, I suppose, the lakes, but what's being proposed in front of us solves that problem. So you're not going to have sand, in my opinion, leaching into the lake. Or if it is, it's absolutely de minimis in major storm, perhaps. But with the wall being proposed, with the mitigation being proposed, it seems to me that the plan in front of us is a lot better than as if he redrew this thing and left it as it is. So I think from an environmental point of view, what's in front of us is a significant improvement. I'd also say that, everything we do, as you all know, is site specific. Clearly, we're looking at this site, we're looking at the lowering of the sand, looking at the mitigation being offered, we're looking at the wall that's being proposed. And I think from an environmental point of view, what's in front of us is better than what's there right now. So at least that's where I'm coming from.
Thanks, John. George?
Yeah, I agree 100%, John. And also, I would say to Pete, I agree. You know, we don't want to say to people, oh, all of a sudden now you got sand on your beach. We didn't recognize it for years and now you can have it. I just think with today, with our satellite stuff and with our great staff, they seem to be on top of all this stuff all the time. I really don't have a problem with that. And I just think this is so much better than it was. And thanks, Sean, for doing what you did.
Thanks, George. Bill?
Yeah, nutrient enrichment is definitely, the cause of the cyanobacteria problem that we have. And that is coming from lots of sources, and obviously leach fields are a major contributor. But if you end up having a vegetated buffer, like if you have a really serious, and I'm not saying that they need or should be doing that here, maybe they should be, but I'm not requesting that or suggesting it. But if you had a 50-foot, completely unimpacted zone and you have, trees and bushes, that has a lot of nutrient uptake. And so having a vegetated buffer helps with the cyanobacteria problem, which, John is right. That's a big, big deal here. And so trying to maintain a vegetated buffer is a good thing. I guess something that, John O'Day, you said that in front of that, I don't know what you call it, the wooden baffle, it's at the lakeshore end of the sand patch. It shows in the plan it's going to be a 3-foot wide thing. And did I catch that you said, well, it's not going to be 3 foot wide? We've actually narrowed that. It's even less than 3 feet. Is that true?
That's not true, I don't think. I think when we were before you last time, it was 2 feet, and we have widened that to 3+ feet. And the change today was really just like literally this plant to the left and right of the stairs had been shown a few inches further inland, but the, kind of limit of the sand has been pulled further away from the pond than when we were before you 2 weeks ago.
So is that 3-foot buffer right up against the wooden baffle on either side of the 4-foot path? Is that going to be allowed to essentially, grow wild, like not just mainly a few bushes with some mulch, but rather grasses and the like that can be, acting as a filter down flow from the sand? That's going to be an untouched strip. That's question one. And the other is that, you basically have just under a 2-to-1 mitigation in a 0 to 50 buffer. I just wonder, is there a way of perhaps widening, or increasing it some so that that those 2 wings, if you will, that are coming out from the sand patch might be buffed up a little bit more, and by the way, allowed to grow completely wild with grass and everything that just acts as a filter. Can you increase would you please increase the buffer width?
So all the mitigation areas, including the prior areas that were done for the housework, are meant to naturalize themselves, to not be manicured, to not be maintained, to not be mulched, to allow to revert to nature. I think that was, one of your questions about that, and that's how we envision that strip along the landward edge of the wall as well. At this point, we are not open to additional mitigation for the sand area. Again, this is, and not just the long-standing fact of it. This was lawn before. This is somebody's yard. This is just a different surface on it. This is not hardscape. That would be mitigation. So, and in sort of also speaking towards Pete's concerns, in terms of precedent, if someone came to the commission without a long-standing area above a retaining wall that was grass and was willing to offer some mitigation to switch that surface type to some other non-hardscape, although it's a waiver, I think the commission would have the discretion to consider that sort of thing. So, I don't think, yes, the fact that this has a long history here, has a play in this discussion, but I don't think it would necessarily change if we showed up to this property and it was grass up to the top of the wall and the people wanted sand and were willing to take provisions to make it not be an impact on the wetlands and offering mitigation for it that improves the current conditions out there. I think it's something that the commission could consider.
Thanks, John. Louise?
Well, the mindset that, well, this is so much better than what was there before. I agree with that, but what was there before wasn't ever approved. It was just put in there, by a couple of homeowners before and stayed there and evolved. So I guess if we did not approve this, that original situation would prevail. So in that sense, the mindset that, oh, this is so much better than it was or is now, I guess is a valid consideration, but it kind of bothers me because what is there now was never approved.
The open yard to the pond and looking at the aerials on the other side goes back to the development of the house that preceded us here, which was 1961. I have a 1968 aerial open, and it is wide open yard to the water's edge. So the only thing that was not permitted 2 owners ago was switching the grass to sand. But in terms of it being a part of their yardscape, it predates conservation by 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the sand, but I just had to say that about it's so much better than it would be so much better than it is now. Kind of bothers me, but anyway, thank you.
John?
I just think, however, if we said no to the sand and they put grass back in there, as Peter said, are we winning or losing with this, especially given the design of this and the plantings being offered for this and that wall protecting it? I just think this is so much better.
I would like to see more mitigation. I think the 2-to-1 for things. Except,
in my opinion, Louise, this is not hardscape. That regulation does not apply to this per se.
Right.
It doesn't mean you can't ask for that. Forgive me, I know, but it's not regulatorily required as I read it, at least. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thanks, John. George?
Yeah, it doesn't seem to me that our regulations require it. And to let it go back to grass and have it be fertilized and all that is just way worse than what we got in front of us.
Right.
So to me, it's a no-brainer. Thank you.
Well, if we were approving grass, wouldn't we say it's not supposed to be fertilized?
I don't know how you could say that, but I don't know how that happens.
Well, I don't know, but I've been in a lot of discussions about grass and don't fertilize this.
Actually, I think we say organic fertilizer, don't we, Darcy?
Right now it's organic.
Yeah, we've been putting in a special condition. I always do about what can go on for fertilizer. Can I just, yeah, Tom, I just would like to ask, I just realized on the plan, we would want to have demarcation of the mitigation strip because there are areas where we have low bush blueberry at 1 gallon. So I want to make sure that there would be no mowing over that. So I would ask that to be added to the plan revision.
Okay.
I missed that. Sorry, John.
Pete?
Yeah, so, and this will maybe be the last discussion. The sand is better than grass. On either wing of this, the prior mitigation, which essentially, I guess was for the house, I can't remember, Darcy, you can maybe fill me in. That was a significant amount of mitigation that was put in to what was once grass. What's before us, I think today, is not dealing with that old mitigation, but rather mitigation for just the sand. And I think Abo's, Commissioner Abadili has a pretty valid point. If we say no to this and they just replace it with grass, we lose the buffer at the water's edge. We lose the buffer strip that is now lawn on either wing. This is a better option for the environment, I think. So while I am conflicted, and you know my conflict out there, I am likely to be voting that this is satisfactory. Oh, I said it. Oh. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. One last comment. Bill?
One last comment, and that is that I'm with Pete. I really am. I mean, I'll probably go, yeah, okay, aye, and I'll say reluctant aye or something. That being said, if it all reverted back, you would have an enforcement issue. I mean, we could, say, well, this is an abomination. We don't want the sand going in. It shouldn't be like this. It's a stinking mess. And you could do something with enforcement. This is dealing with enforcement. And if they, and here we're debating what should and shouldn't be acceptable. And, I guess I'm kind of there. I don't like it, but I do think we would have the alternative if we said no to say, look, you can't do this and you should do that because this is not good. Anyway, so I think I'm going to find it satisfactory, but I don't like it necessarily.
Just thanks, Bill. John, you want to say something?
Yeah, Angela, would you like to go before me? Because we've all talked except you. Would you like to go first, Angela?
No, I like less talking. That's why I'm putting a thumbs up. I'm agreeing with the discussion, but I do think I'm ready to say that this is enough for now. And I agree with Bill. I agree with all of you, but I think my thumbs up is my ability to agree with you without having to talk. So continue.
I just wanted to bring up a whole new point that came up last time, and I think I lost it. We saw a lot of mulch there, John, and that mulch is going to be removed or let go from that, right?
And so the house project construction was finished in July. So I couldn't even tell you that the mitigation is 100%. They certainly got a good effort of plants in the first round. I couldn't tell you that, we haven't counted them. I couldn't tell you whether there is more to be added. We hadn't gotten to the certificate of compliance, but that will certainly be addressed through staff to make sure it's the appropriate number and being maintained to the appropriate.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is he still here? Where do you
Yeah.
I think I like the way this is going. I just want to make it clear that, whatever happens in the next 3 minutes, we just don't want to have the pier denied. So if the commission goes the route of, we don't love it, but it's better than the grass, we're happy. And if the commission isn't going that direction, then we'd like to just at least get the pier and the wall set, and we'll put it back to grass. But
John, I think you should let it go to a motion. Let it go to a motion.
Yeah, just let me go to the public comments first. Chenoweth, can end the public comment on this.
There's no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Darcy, we need the annual report of 3 years, right?
Yes, and the demarcation of the mitigation area.
Okay. Let me try this and see what happens. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to receipt of a revised plan showing the demarcation line and an annual report for 3 years?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili,
Aye.
Foster,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Hearn,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Tangney,
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
After all that, it is unanimous.
Can I add, the best comment was Angela's. Let's get on with this.
We appreciate your time at both meetings on this, and I'm sure the applicants will be happy and continue to improve the property to your likings. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a good discussion. Thank you, fellow
Yes,
commissioners.
thank you for the discussions. And since John is here, I'd like to take things out of order. Go to C, Putnam Property LLC to construct a balcony, 2 patio area, and a flagpole at 20 Scallop Path, Austerville, as shown on the Assessors Map 070, parcel 010-002. This is a continuance from October the 10th, waiting for the DEP number, and we still don't have a DEP number. So, John?
We would like to take a continuance to the next hearing, which I believe was the 31st.
October the 31st. Could I have a motion to continue this applications to October the 31st?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Sampu,
Aye.
Tangney,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Hearn,
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Foster,
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for your time.
The next continuance is New Rushy Marsh Realty LLC. Construct a patio adjacent to an existing cabana, including work and mitigation planting inside the 100-foot buffer zone at 1500 Main Street, contoured as shown in the Assessors Map 017, parcel 014. This is a continuance from October the 3rd, and the quorum is everyone. Sean.
Good evening, everybody. And so I think I'm in good company because we still don't have our DEP number yet. I've been leaving messages every day and checking every afternoon, but still no number. So
No, there.
I'm sorry.
It came in this afternoon.
Did it really?
Yeah.
That's
There's
fantastic.
Yeah.
My harassing must have worked.
Yep.
Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you. So as Tom mentioned, this is for a project where we're proposing an at-grade patio on the landward side of an existing cabana that's out at 1500 Main Street. And let me see, I share my screen. I don't understand what, let me see if I can. Let me know when you guys can see. I don't understand why I'm not. I have too many things open. Just bear with me for a second. There we go. All right.
Now it's coming up.
Sorry about that. So this is the existing cabana here, and our patio project is here. And we have 3 sort of minor but sort of important changes. One was in response to Louise's comment last time about the prior mitigation that had been done out here. And if you can see on this aerial, you've got some white dashed lines. These are all areas of prior mitigation. So our proposed area of dune restoration enhancement was largely within those areas. A small portion was outside. But what we said is, rather than complicate things, we're just going to propose a little bit more mitigation planting in these open areas here. so that everything that we're proposing for mitigation is outside of prior mitigation areas and outside the priority habitat, because we still haven't heard from Fish and Wildlife either. So the 4-to-1 mitigation requirement in the regulations is met by our proposed new planting. And what I'll do is I'll show you that our original mitigation planting was all proposed up by the patio. And just for reference, here's the cabana and here's the patio project. What we're proposing is about 800 more square feet of mitigation planting down here, which is outside of the priority habitat and outside of the area that was a prior mitigation planting, which was in this area, as well as outside the dune enhancement area. We also had another issue, which was clarifying the town bank. And at that time, we talked about sort of the need to provide transects. So we created another sheet, which takes 3 transects along the bank and provides the views and how we delineate the difference between town and DEP bank. Tom reviewed it and absolutely did a fascinating spreadsheet of everything and basically concurred with our number. His were a little bit more, a little bit smaller bank area, so we just decided to stay with the more conservative number, which is what we showed originally. And then lastly, the change I alluded to real quickly was we still hope to do some dune enhancement restoration, but now it's completely discretionary on our part. What we'll do is if approved, we'll put it in the sort of the plans, and Chris will sort of work with Darcy to identify areas that work well, and then if Fish and Wildlife blesses the work, then we'll go ahead and do some of it. But it's all in the discretionary category because we have about a couple thousand feet of restoration or of mitigation planting proposed already. And those are the changes.
I just want to mention something. Sean, can you go back to the transects, the drawing with the transects? So
Yep.
I look at 3 transects, A, B, and C, from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, A, B, and C. So for A, there's a transect, there is a town bank just below the land subject to storm flowage. And then B and C is very close to the land subject to coastal storm flowage for the town bank line. So I just want to mention that. I looked through it twice, and I just want to make sure everything is right before I send it back to Sean. So I double check and my work, and I think it's fine. So that's why I wanted to let you guys know. Questions, Louise?
Regarding the discretionary area or discretionary work, dune restoration, so that is part of the proposal, right?
It is, because we need your authorization to do it.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Any other question from the commissioner?
Excuse me, Tom. So
Yep.
I just want to point out, just so the commission understands, the actual work would be cutting into and grading into a town coastal bank. That's correct, right?
No.
No? Because we're...
No, none of the work is proposed within town bank. It is proposed within DEP bank, but it's all outside of town bank.
Okay, can you show the town line again? I'm sorry.
Yep.
So
if everybody can see, the area that's considered bank is a dotted pattern. The heavier dot is town bank. And that's really because those are the portions that exceed 18%. All of our work is in this area here, which is all outside of town bank. And it makes sense because the slope on the landward side of the cabana is a bit less steep because it's got the wall of the cabana supporting some of it. So this is slightly shallower grade than it is to either side.
all right, thanks for pointing that out. I wasn't looking at the shading thing. I was trying to find the line. I'm so used to seeing the actual town coastal bank line instead of heavier dots and lighter dots. So.
Yeah, I struggled with how to show it because it's all sort of all over the place, and certainly open any suggestions in the future if you think there's something that's more easily read.
Okay, thank you very much.
So we're still waiting for the Fish and Wildlife comment, right?
We are, but the only thing that's waiting on that is the discretionary dune enhancement. So all of the work that we need to do for the project is outside of priority habitat. So I was hoping to sort of not wait for them because they're at least a couple weeks away from issuing comments. And that was the reason to pull the mitigation planting outside of the priority habitat.
I think in our practice, we usually wait for the comment just to be sure.
Except, Tom, if it's out of our jurisdiction, if it's not before us tonight, because the mitigation he's offering, that do we still have to wait? Any of the discretionary stuff, he's got to work with Darcy anyway. So
we just have to revise the plan to take the area offering mitigation, like the phase 2, off of the plan.
Off the plan, exactly. That will make it.
Just for clarification, if it's identified as discretionary work, that will only get done with the consent of Fish and Wildlife and with coordination with Darcy. That can't be approved without Fish and Wildlife's comments?
Correct.
Correct.
But the plan itself, the mitigation that is being offered for the approval of these changes can be approved, I think, Tom, no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You could probably come back. I would take the area off that falls in natural heritage endangered species habitat off the plan, and then later on you could ask for an amended order.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So Sean, this is Mike. I think, Sean, you need to withdraw so much of the proposal as includes the discretionary work in order to get a vote.
I think Mike's right in that.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Is there a way to do that tonight, or do we?
Yes. Just ask for it.
So what we'd like to do is eliminate the discretionary portions of the work
and submit a revised plan showing that.
A revised plan to show that.
Absolutely.
Okay. Channel 18, any public comment on this?
There's no public comment on this item.
Okay. Darcy, we need that annual report of 3 years, right?
Yes.
Let me try this. Could I have a motion to approve this project subject to receipt of a revised plans showing the phase 2, removing the phase 2? Is that
the area subject to natural heritage endangered species?
Okay.
I guess you call it discretionary areas.
Yeah. And then an annual report of 3 years.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Sampu.
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
Foster.
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Hearn.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. That's unanimous.
Thank you, Sean and Mike.
Thank
you, everybody. Good night.
Yep.
Night.
The last continuance is Hamilton Shapley, proposed detached 2-car garage with attic above at 21 Forest Street, Hyannisport, as on the Assessors Maps 266 parcel 006-002. This is a continuance from October the 10th, and we're waiting for the DEP number. And we have received the DEP number as SE3-6131. Could I have a motion to close the public hearing and authorize the staff to issue the other conditions?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Hearn.
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Foster.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
Tangney.
Aye.
Sampu.
Aye.
Abadili.
Aye.
That is unanimous.
We have 4 sets of minutes: September the 5th, September the 12th, September the 19th, October the 3rd.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Did
I submitted comments on the 19th and the 3rd. In particular, the 3rd I thought were needed to be seriously tidied up. Did those changes get made?
No, let's hold those two. Let's hold those two. Just going through the September the 5th and the September the 12th.
Can I ask, Mr. Chairman, when those comments were submitted? Because I didn't see them.
It was submitted. I think it's yesterday or something.
It was yesterday. Maybe no. I think it was a couple of days ago. In terms of how you submit minutes, comments on minutes. I don't know what the protocol is. I was concerned. I don't think you're supposed to send them to everybody, are you? I mean,
No. I think send it to him, and I have it. Let me take a look at it. Let's vote on the September the 5th and the 12th. And then clear that.
George, you need to amend your motion.
So, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we accept the minutes for September, help me with dates?
5th and 12th.
5th and 12th.
Second.
Roll call.
Abadili?
Aye.
Foster?
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. Vern?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Tangney?
Aye.
Sampu?
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Our next meeting is October the 31st at 6:30. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Sampu?
Aye.
Tangney?
Aye.
Abadili?
Aye.
Foster?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
Vern?
Aye.
Gilmore, aye. We are adjourned at 7:23.
Oh.